Dad's army of unpaid border guards is set to be Britain's first line of defence against terrorists, people smugglers and organised crime gangs at hundreds of vulnerable air and seaports. The Special Volunteer Force will police isolated marinas, harbours and airfields, but astonishingly, according to union officials opposed to the scheme, they will have no powers to interrogate or arrest suspects. Described by critics last night as risky and farcical, the move follows a series of damning official reports warning that marinas and small airports, where there are no rigorous border checks, could allow illegal immigrants, terrorists and criminals to sneak into Britain undetected. A £100,000 haul of smuggled arms. At Small Kent Marina, armed officers from the National Crime Agency arrest a gang smuggling weapons in a marina in the Kent village of Cuxto in 2015. The Mail on Sunday has discovered that, in a trial run, around 50 volunteers, who will report to the full-time border force, will patrol England's east coast with plans for the scheme to be expanded later to cover Britain's 7,000 miles of coastline. It is understood volunteers will also be used to man border checks at airfields used by light aircraft flying to and from Europe. Last year David Anderson, the government's former advisor on terrorism law, warned that Britain's small ports and harbours could be used by Islamic fanatics trying to sneak back to the UK from Syria and Iraq. A separate report published in July by David Bolt, the Independent Chief Inspector of Borders and Immigration, raised fears that sleepy ports and harbours, where checks are virtually non-existent, could be exploited by illegal immigrants and crime gangs smuggling weapons and drugs. Last night, Yvette Cooper, chairman of the influential Home Affairs Select Committee, said it was wrong to use volunteers in the place of fuller trained staff. As well as keeping an eye on small harbours, the volunteer force may also help out at larger docks, such as Immingham, above, on the Humber estuary, which handles 25% of Britain's international freight. She said, filling the gaps with volunteers because of budget and staffing cuts raises very serious questions about border security and the Home Office commitment to this important public service. We will be calling for evidence on this proposal as part of our inquiry into post-Brexit border security. Last night the Home Office confirmed that it is consulting with police about how best to deploy the volunteers. A spokesman said, Border Force is currently considering the potential benefits of a Border Force Special Volunteer Force and is in discussion with other law enforcement agencies such as local police to understand how they use volunteers in addition to their existing workforce. The Home Office refused to give any details on how the volunteers would be vetted and what training they would get. But the PC's union, which represents many among Border Force's 8,000 staff, said the pilot scheme is likely to be rolled out in 2018. The volunteers will be part of mobile units that would cover several ports and harbours.